Welcome back to Dark Whispers, where every night a new tale from 1001 Nights awaits you. Previously, Scheherazade ended the story of the fisherman in the strange city of stone, where the fish spoke and revealed a hidden curse. Tonight, she continues. Once, long ago, in a distant land surrounded by shining seas and green mountains, there stood a grand city unlike any other. Its towers were carved with gold, its palaces glittered with precious stones, and its streets were filled with laughter and music. But one day, a darkness fell upon the city. Its people vanished. Its markets grew silent. The palaces stood empty, their doors wide open as though waiting for someone who would never return. In the very heart of this silent city, there was a great palace, and within its walls lived a young prince, Akkad. He was no ordinary prince. By daylight, his body remained half turned into stone, unable to move. By night, he was free to walk, yet his heart carried the weight of sorrow. One evening, the prince stood before the visiting king, his only guest in this empty kingdom. With a voice heavy with grief, he said, "Know, O king, that I was once ruler over 4 islands. My people were prosperous, my lands fertile, my days filled with joy, but fate is cruel. What you see now is the shadow of what was." The king leaned closer, his curiosity burning. "What calamity befell you, young prince? Tell me, for I see in your eyes a storm of grief." The prince sighed deeply. It was because of love and betrayal. The tale of the enchanted prince. The prince began to tell his tale. He once had a wife, a woman of extraordinary beauty, her eyes like jewels, her hair flowing like midnight silk. He loved her deeply, more than life itself. But unknown to him, she had a secret. For in the dark hours of the night, she would leave the palace and go to the mountains. There, hidden in a cave, lived her lover, a monstrous slave, broad as a bull, whose skin was black as coal, and whose eyes glowed like embers. For months she deceived the prince, meeting this slave in secret, until one day the prince discovered her treachery. His heart was torn in two, but instead of rage, he chose silence, watching her, hoping she would repent, but she did not. Her wickedness grew, and when she realized her secret had been uncovered, her heart turned black with hatred. One night, while the prince slept, she whispered spells from the ancient tongue of Jinn. Her words twisted the air, and suddenly the prince awoke to find half his body turned into stone. She laughed cruelly. "Now you will suffer, O foolish man. By day you shall be as cold and lifeless as stone, unable to move or speak. Only by night will you rise to walk this empty city and weep for what you have lost. As for your people, they too are cursed. They lie in the depths of the sea, transformed into fish sheets, one bound to a color that marks their fate. And so shall you remain until heaven itself takes pity upon you." The prince bowed his head in sorrow as he told this part. The king, listening, was struck with grief and anger. "By Allah," the king said, "such cruelty cannot remain unpunished. Tell me, where is this wicked sorceress now?" The prince replied, "She dwells still in the palace, hidden in her chambers of magic. Yet, though she cursed me, I cannot raise my hand against her, for my heart still remembers love." The king's resolve. The visiting king clenched his fists. "Fear not, young prince. I shall not let you suffer forever in silence. I shall find this sorceress and put an end to her wickedness, or die in the attempt." The prince tried to stop him. "No, she wields powers beyond mortal men. To face her is to face death itself." But the king's eyes burned with determination. "I have faced armies. I have crossed deserts. I will not be frightened by a faithless woman who hides behind dark spells." That night, while the prince retreated to his chambers, the king prepared himself. He sharpened his sword, whispered prayers for strength, and vowed to bring light to the cursed city, the silent palace. The king wandered through the great halls of the palace. The walls were painted with stars. The ceilings glittered like the night sky. But all was empty. No servants, no guards, no music. Only silence, broken by the faint sound of the sea. At last, he came to a hidden door, behind which he heard strange whispers. He pushed it open. And there, by the glow of enchanted lamps, sat the sorceress herself. Her beauty was still striking, but her eyes burned with cruelty. Before her was a cauldron, its waters bubbling with green fire. She chanted words in an ancient tongue, her voice rising and falling like waves of doom. The king hid himself in the shadows, watching. She did not know he was there. He saw her lean over the cauldron, speaking to the monstrous slave who lay within, covered in wounds. She poured her power into him, weeping false tears. "Do not die, my love," she whispered. "I have struck down the foolish prince. He cannot stop us now, live, and I will give you kingdoms greater than his own." The king's heart burned with fury. He now knew the full measure of her treachery. And here, Scheherazade paused, her voice softening as she looked into the eyes of King Shahryar. She said, "But, O king, the fate of the young prince and the evil sorceress is a tale too long for one night. If you wish to know how the story ends, you must grant me another dawn." The king, filled with curiosity, nodded. "So be it. You shall live another day, Scheherazade." So ends tonight's tale from 1001 Nights. Stay with us, for tomorrow the story continues. Only on Dark Whispers. From deep within the cavern, the sorceress stirred, her senses alert for danger. Glancing at the cauldron, she saw the slave was gone. In his place, a single word floated in the green fire: "Traitor." Enraged, the sorceress rose, her eyes, blazing with wrath, searched the shadows for the intruder. Suddenly, a glint of moonlight revealed a figure. She whispered an ancient spell, and instantly the cavern shook. Suddenly, a mighty genie rose from the cauldron, his form wreathed in smoke and flame. The sorceress commanded, "Find the interloper, slay him where he stands, spare none." As the genie charged forth, the king drew his sword, its polished surface reflecting the cavern's fiery glow. When the genie loomed close, the king cried out, "In the name of Allah, the merciful, the compassionate, I command you, genies of the earth, hear my words and obey." The genie faltered, chained to the cauldron by ancient laws. He roared in defiance, but the king pressed on, reciting verses from the Quran, weaving words of power. With a final surge of strength, the king banished the genie, sealing the sorceress's fate. The cavern trembled. Then silence fell, heavy and profound. Emerging from the cavern, the king walked toward the silent city, the first rays of dawn touching his face. He carried within him the hope of breaking the curse, of restoring life to the petrified city. As the sun climbed higher, the streets began to stir. From the depths of the sea, fish leapt forth, taking on the forms of men and women. The city awoke from its stony slumber, alive and vibrant once more. And there, in the center, stood the king and a freed prince. Together, they surveyed the city, their hearts filled with wonder and gratitude. The prince turned to the king, his eyes shining with tears. "By the will of Allah, the curse is broken. My people and I are forever in your debt. How can we repay you for your bravery?" The king, touched by the prince's gratitude, placed a hand on his shoulder. You have repaid me enough by sharing your tale with me. Now, let us begin anew. Let laughter and music fill these streets once more. Let the gardens bloom and the markets thrive. This city shall be a beacon of joy and prosperity." And so it was. To the king's guidance, the city flourished like never before. The prince, by day, worked alongside his people, learning the ways of humility and service. And by night, he walked hand in hand with his beloved wife, who found true love and devotion in his heart. News of their happiness spread far and wide, reaching even the ears of King Shahryar. He smiled, knowing that justice had been served and true love had triumphed. Scheherazade paused, letting the silence hang heavy in the air before she finally spoke, her voice low and resonant. Yet some stories, my king, are not meant to end so neatly. Some curses run deeper than flesh and blood. Some loves, once betrayed, can never truly heal. The king turned to her, his expression unreadable. Then tell me, Scheherazade, what became of the valiant king who saved the enchanted prince? Scheherazade met his gaze directly, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. That, my king, is a tale for another night. And so ends tonight's tale from 1001 Nights. Can, with it, our journey through the enchanted city of stone and the curse of the sorceress fades into memory. But fear not, dear listeners, for tomorrow we shall gather once more around the lamp of storytelling and uncover new adventures from the mystical world of Scheherazade. Until then, may your dreams be filled with wonder and your nights be safe from harm. Stay with us, for tomorrow the story continues, only on Dark Whispers.